The thing about Kamala is she is dirty, and she has been dirty from the beginning.
We all know what she did.
I did a Periscope this morning. I was like, she slept her way to the top, and if we're all going to pretend she didn't do that.
She slept her way to the bottom.
Right.
What? You believe that Joe Biden sexually assaulted a number of women, sexually assaulted them, but you're joining his presidential ticket anyway. How does that work exactly? Harris may be the single most transactional human being in America. There are timeshare salesmen you would trust more than Kamala Harris. You could find payday lenders who are more sincere. So it seemed inconceivable that given his current state, Joe Biden would choose someone so transparently one-dimensional as Kamala Harris, someone as empty as he is.
The thing about Kamala is she is dirty, and she has been dirty from the beginning. This is something they dug up. What she said about young people is cut 14.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. They make really bad decisions.
And then that's what she said. And then she was asked later during the primaries, should they be given the vote, these stupid people? This is cut 2.
Given that policies passed now will affect the younger generation for years to come, do you believe that Americans should have the right to vote at age 16?
I'm really interested in having that conversation. If we are looking at what is going on in our country, we are putting more responsibilities on people at a younger age. And the larger number of people that we can involve in the electoral process, I think the more robust it would be.
So they're stupid, and we want them voting.
Harris clearly wasn't picked for her personal charm. More than 30 years ago, she dated a man called Willie Brown. He was later the mayor of San Francisco. She was 29 years old at the time. Brown was 60 and still married. Brown launched Harris's political career. He knows her very well. Last week, Brown publicly urged Joe Biden not to pick Kamala Harris as his running mate. But it turns out Willie Brown's opinion no longer matters in the Democratic Party. Jeff Bezos's opinion matters. So do the opinions of his fellow Bay Area tech titans and the finance moguls in New York.
You know, they're going to attack you for being sexist no matter what, but she slept her way into politics. There's just no question about it. Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco. He was an assemblyman in San Francisco. He was also a fixer in San Francisco, and he was a famous gad about what I don't know what you call him. He's a famous womanizer. He was a womanizer, and he was married, but he was always had a girl on his arm, and one of those girls was Kamala Harris, and he was 60. She was in her 20s, and he helped her get elected DA in San Francisco.
It's so unfair.
So you had to work.
I had to make it on talent and good looks alone.
It's completely unfair, by the way. It
is.
Yeah, but it's true, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Look at Kamala Harris, who I call Kama Sutra Harris. She, excuse me. You know what we all know what she did.
I did a Periscope this morning. I was like, she slept her way to the top, and if we're all going to pretend she didn't do that.
She slept her way to the bottom.
Right. If we're all going to pretend she didn't do it, okay, have a happy 2020 election cycle.
But it's the dishonesty that gets me. He talks about Kevin Cooper, a death row inmate whose trial was infected by racism and corruption. He sought advanced DNA testing to prove his innocence, but Miss Harris opposed it. And after the New York Times expose of the case went viral, then she reversed her opinion. She really was like not just a tough prosecutor. She was a dishonest prosecutor. She was a prosecutor who defended basically her own record instead of justice.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Also a concern for people of color is criminal justice reform. Senator Harris, you released your plan for that just this week, and it does contradict some of your prior positions. Among them, you used to oppose the legalization of marijuana, now you don't. You used to oppose outside investigations of police shootings, now you don't. You've said that you changed on these and other things because you were, quote, swimming against the current, and thankfully the currents have changed. But when you had the power, why didn't you try to affect change then?
And now, talk about hypocrisy. Now she's been getting on the bandwagon about defunding the police, talking about the LAPD.
Many cities spend over 1/3 of their entire city budget on policing. But meanwhile, we've been defunding public schools for years in America. We've got to re-examine what we're doing with American taxpayer dollars and ask the question, are we getting the right return on our investment? Are we actually creating healthy and safe communities?
So how could Joe Biden pick a running mate who once publicly denounced him as a racist? You remember the moment. It was at a debate last summer.
I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
I do not believe you are racist. I do not believe you beat your wife. Right. Kamala Harris, civil rights icon.
And let's be very clear about this. When Vice President Biden was in the United States Senate working with segregationists to oppose busing, which was the vehicle by which we would integrate America's public schools, had I been in the United States Senate at that time, I would have been completely on the other side of the aisle.
Her record in wrongful conviction cases it includes George Gage, an electrician with no criminal record who was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter, who reported the allegation years later, and the case largely hinged on the stepdaughter's testimony, and Mr. Gage was convicted, and she hid evidence again. She fought to keep Daniel Larson in prison on a 28-year-to-life sentence for possession of a concealed weapon, even though his trial lawyer was incompetent and there was compelling evidence of his innocence.
Just last year, several women came forward to say Joe Biden had touched them in sexually aggressive ways, both on and off camera. Kamala Harris wholeheartedly endorsed their claims. Quote, I believe them, and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it. Wait, what? You believe that Joe Biden sexually assaulted a number of women, sexually assaulted them, but you're joining his presidential ticket anyway. How does that work exactly? How can you do that? Well, as it turns out, she can do it happily, shamelessly, without even taking a breath. Just tell Kamala Harris what to say, and she will say it. That is the whole point of Kamala Harris. It's why she's so useful.